welcome to Tripod, our travel retail themed video podcast series in association with the SEVA Group. I'm Martin Moodie.
I'm Roger Jackson.
Roger, it's great to be back for what now is series 3 of Tripod. So I think we're well and truly established. We're going to have some great guests in this series. We've already lined several of them up. But as usual, before we come to our guest today, we're going to have a bit of a chat about the state of the nation and travel retail. And given that you and I have just returned from TFWA, a world exhibition, the greatest travel retail show on earth in Cannes, it would be remiss of me not to compare experiences. How was the show for you as an exhibitor, you and Severino, of course, and the whole SEVA Group team?
Yeah, I think first of all, welcome back to Series 3. And I think, we took a couple of weeks break because obviously we were all heading to the south of France. My personal experience, Martin, was a real positive one. I was also there last year, which I know not everyone was. So I was actually there last year, and obviously last year was a very different concept. But still, a positive one, even last year, even though we were still in in the throes of a pandemic. I think for me, what I found was a huge amount of positivity. I thought a lot of brands and attendees, both exhibitors and visitors, had made a lot of effort. I think hats off to TFWA, so to Eric and John Rimmer and their teams. And the board, of course, of TFWA. I've got nothing but positivity. I felt both from the start, the planning, the during, and at the end and the finish. I thought the TFWA did a fantastic job, and a huge hats off to them. Over the couple of years of the pandemic, they were under a lot of pressure. And obviously coming back last year, there was question marks around should there have been a Cannes in 2021, which they did do one, albeit a reduced version. But I think it's fair to say TFWA Cannes came back with a massive bang. I thought it was fantastic, well run. And I felt that, optically, it felt like maybe visitor numbers were a little bit lower than perhaps 2019. I might be wrong, Martin. That's just my personal optics on it. But I felt the quality was actually better. I thought the people who were there were from our industry and really wanted to do business. So we had far more quality meetings than I can remember for a long time.
Yeah, no, well, that would be my verdict on it as well. I think last year was a solidarity show, if you like, with and by the association. This one was a revivalist show. It was a real feeling of we're through it. And although there's going to be some speed bumps ahead, the world's never going to turn in on itself again. The travel retail trade is back. And you could see it at every meeting. I went to the Do Free Do, I think it was on the Monday. It was absolutely packed down on the beach. There were numerous other examples during the week, just great events. We were run off our feet with interviews and press conferences, presentations, etc. And that's always a sign that plenty is happening. So I think it was a very strong show, and it sent out great vibes for our industry. So I think we can all look forward now to much better times.
Oh, Martin, one thing I would add, in 2020, 2021, I saw a lot of, chatter and conversations around, do we really need, a trade show as an industry? Could we not do something, 100% virtual? And I think there's a role for that. I genuinely still think there's a real role for a virtual role in our industry. However, what 2 weeks ago taught me, a week ago taught me, is that there's absolutely a need for us all to come together. And I think the power of that is huge. And I think, yes, we should definitely look at technology that can bring us together more frequently. But I think the TFWA show is here to stay, and I think is only going to grow.
Yeah, and remember, of course, this year we didn't have huge delegation from China. In fact, a very small one, although some came. The China Duty Free Group people came, which was wonderful. Great to see the Taiwanese retailers Everrich and Meng turn up. Japan, of course, opening now. And so, and Hong Kong, the retailers were able to come. I was able to come because no quarantine on return. We were dancing in the streets here in Hong Kong when that was announced. So, yeah, very good, and can only get better, I think, Roger. So very good. Well, we've recovered from the rigors of Cannes now, so we'll get on with doing our second job of running Tripod, and we've got an interesting guest today, Roger, someone you know very well. Shall we bring him in?
I think we should.
So this episode's special guest is Patrick Awad, the Customer Development Lead, Middle East, Africa, and India subcontinent duty-free at Philip Morris International. Patrick, based in Dubai, has spent over 4 years with the IQOS to Marlboro tobacco products giant, and actually more than 6 in the tobacco sector altogether, after a successful stint in the drinks world with Diageo in his native Lebanon and later Dubai. Well, Patrick's our first Tripod guest from the tobacco sector, so I'm sure he's about to light up the program. Patrick, welcome to Tripod.
Thank you, Martin. Thank you for having me.
Pleasure to have you on the program, and I'm going to pass over to my partner in Tripod Publishing Crime. That's Roger Jackson. Roger, you know Patrick, so I'm going to let you kick off proceedings and take us through what I know is going to be a fascinating conversation.
Hi, Patrick. We've obviously known each other quite a long time and worked together. So thank you so much for coming on the podcast this week.
Thanks a lot for having me, Roger. I love the hats, by the way.
Yeah, we'll talk about these a little bit later. One will be winging its way to you. We've got a new design, so be ready. I'll have that delivered to your house.
We'll be waiting for
it. We always start off from the start, Patrick. You growing up. So if you could take us back to then, that would be amazing. Where, when, key events, education. We'd love to know about where it all started for you. If you could start there, that'd be great.
Yeah, sure. So I'm Lebanese and I'm brought up in Beirut. And so I'm going to talk a bit about my family and my parents. My parents have been very basically specific about my education, and I've attended a school that's basically 1 hour and a half away from my house, just because it's the best school in the country. So I have to wake up at 6 a.m. in the morning. I think Lebanon has a very special place in my heart, and sadly, with what's been happening in the past 4 years, I think in Lebanon we've gone through a lot of turmoils. We've gotten used to that, but I think that at some point in my life, I'd love to go back and retire there.
And you mentioned before when we were speaking about your parents being in the sort of hotel and hospitality industry. That's where it all started for you. So what made you follow them into that world, which was obviously your first job after university?
Sure. So I come from a hospitality family, I would say. My father is in hospitality. My brother is too. So everything we discussed at home revolves around restaurants and hotels, and I built a passion for hospitality. So after I graduated from university in Lebanon, having majored in sales and marketing, I went into working in hospitality, starting off in one of the big hotels in Beirut, where I did kind of a rotational program, going to different front office management, purchasing. So it was a nice start to my career, I would say. But quickly after that, I realized that I want to be in the FMCG world, and there's no better place than Diageo to start that.
And that's obviously where we met. So you arrive at obviously domestic first with our great guys in the Lena team. Shout out to all those guys in Lebanon at the moment. And obviously we've got a lot of joint friends as well. So shout out to all of those guys as well, mostly in London now.
Sure.
But what brought you to travel retail? So you come into Diageo domestic, right? And then we get you number one, first of all, into the GCC, into the Dubai, where you call home now, as I do. But then what got you into our great industry, into travel retail?
So basically, after a couple of years in Lebanon working with a domestic team, I've had an opportunity to move to Dubai with a permanent role in Dubai in travel retail. And it quickly struck me because being a Lebanese, I used to travel a lot. I have a lot of family outside of Lebanon. So I was exposed to, airports and duty-free and travel retail early on. And I was always amazed by all these FMCG companies basically communicating, having all these brands in one place and communicating to around 180 nationalities. So that was something fascinating for me. I was given the opportunity and I quickly took it. So for a couple of years, moved to Dubai, and it's been 7 years, I would say, since.
And then obviously you do the switch into tobacco. Obviously not directly to Philip Morris, but how did that come about, and what made you do the switch over onto one of the other largest categories in travel retail?
So the switch was kind of fast because after 8 months of joining Diageo in Dubai, I've had the opportunity to basically move into more a sales-oriented role with JTI, and for me, it was always a challenge. The day I joined travel retail, I was fascinated about tobacco and how a highly regulated industry works in duty free in specific. So I was offered this role, which was a sales role, managing the GCC airports, and I quickly took it.
And what did you find different between the two categories, coming from obviously alcohol after all those years into tobacco? What were those first sort of areas you thought this is really different, actually?
Actually, ways of working are not so different. It's that the category is more regulated than liquor is. So basically, how the brands are activated a bit differs. I would say liquor is more of an activation-based category. You see a lot of things happening in activations. I think tobacco is also going in that way in travel retail. But I think both companies, or the three companies, if I would take Diageo, JTI, and Philip Morris, they're all industry leaders. They're all global companies, and I think in travel retail, they're all doing a good job.
Yeah, I'm sure they are. Well, I know they are. And I guess for you, what would you say career highlights to date? Obviously, with the three large companies you've worked for in obviously in Diageo and then obviously in tobacco, what would your career highlights be so far? What are those proud moments you have?
So for the past 7 years, because I've been working with consistently the same trade partners, I would say forging this relationship, forging these partnership with our trade partners, which are super capable and competent. And I think brand success in travel retail is really determined by the strength of the relationships you have with the retailers. And I think for the past 7 years, that's a big highlight for me that we were able to really build these partnerships with our retailers. And I think COVID was proving that, because we went through a tough year. And if it weren't for the strong partnerships that we had with our retailers, it would have been very hard to keep going. That's in the past now. I think the future is super bright for travel retail, and we're seeing it with the recovery that's been happening the past year. And I think for PMI in specific, the launch of RRPs, or reduced risk products, in the region has been at the forefront of category innovation for us, and we're not done yet now. So we're preparing for something also for very soon for reduced risk products, and I think it's just a start.
Yeah, watch the space. I've tracked that story very closely, Patrick. I've been to your center in Switzerland and just watch the science at work, the serious science at work, the a massive investment behind it. It's so impressive. I think it's been one of the game-changing developments in our industry, and watching the success of your duty-free team rolling out the RRP products around the world. I think it's fantastic. I was through DXB. Well, I've been through there 3 or 4 times in the last 2 or 3 months, but I was through there last weekend. And again, you know, I went into the tobacco department and just watched what you're doing with IQOS. I think it's startlingly good. So hats off to you and all your colleagues. Just going back on your career journey to date, we always like to ask people who their mentors or key influences might have been. But I've got to preempt that by saying you worked with Roger for a while. Was he a good guy to work with, Patrick? You can reveal all.
We can spill the beans, basically, right? No, I'd say me and Roger, we met in Diageo. We were not working closely because when I moved to Dubai to travel retail, I spent 8 months, and then I moved into JTI. But I always knew Roger from there, and he was an amazing guy. But key influencers, I would say, on a personal level, which affected me also in my career, definitely my parents, keeping me grounded all the time and instilled the values in me that I take with me everywhere I go. I think that they've been the biggest influences. Career-wise, I would say there's a lot of people. Every stop that I had, or every company that I worked for, I met amazing people that have been mentors. Not one in specific, but I think my parents are the ones who I would say are my influences.
Very, very well said. Okay, well, look, we're going to have a bit of fun now, as we always do with our guest Patrick. So we have Roger and I have invested heavily in real estate out in the middle of the ocean. We have a desert island paradise, and we're going to take you there along as we do with all our other guests. So, Roger, you do the honors, please. We're going to give you a few creature comforts, Patrick, and Roger's going to talk you through those. We're going to hear what your choices might be.
Patrick, as Martin explained, you're on our desert island now, and we, of course, allow you to have some items. The first one, and because the industry we all work in has to be a duty-free item. So we're very generous with our allowances. So we're going to let you pick one tobacco industry product. And be careful how I word that, because I can guess what that's going to be. And we're going to allow you to pick one in your previous category in alcohol as well. So it'd be great to hear what you bring.
Perfect. I'm interested in that one. So the first one would definitely be IQOS. I'm a user of the product, and I think it's an amazing product. I've switched from smoking, and it goes with me wherever I go. So definitely that was.
I saw the representation there.
Definitely that. If I would go to the to the liquor category, I've always had a passion for one brand in Diageo, which was the Kappa Rum. It's my favorite brand, niche, but I think the brand itself is astonishing, and my favorite drink is the Zacapa XO Rum.
Amazing, one of the best liquids in the industry, and one of the best liquids out of any products in the world. It's definitely up there. And mate, if anybody hasn't tried that rum, you should definitely look for it. It is absolutely exceptional.
Agreed.
It is.
So along with your IQOS and your rum, what one piece of music or album would you bring onto the island?
Piece of music. So I would say, if we have any guests on the island, we need to set the mood right? So I love Café del Mar, which is a lounge sort of music. It's my go-to in the car. So definitely taking Café del Mar with me to the island.
Perfect. So along with your music, your rum and your IQOS now.
That's a very nice mood, by the way.
It is.
I grew up around Café del Mar.
Yeah, exactly. The full sort of chill out sunset. What bit of reading would you bring along, whether it was a book or what type of reading material would you bring?
I'm gonna have to choose two. The first one is the latest issue of the Moodie Davitt Report.
Of course.
Most probably to check on the guys, what's happening in travel retail.
The only
Thank
place.
you, Patrick.
And actually, a book would be a book that I read in my university days that really stayed with me is Rich Dad Poor Dad. It's a book about financial literacy, and it's taught me a lot about how to manage finances and all of that. And I think nowadays is super important. So definitely will take that book with me.
Absolutely intriguing choice, great choice. Well, you've used up your allowance there. You've got a very a litre bottle, I suspect, of Ron Zacapa. You're not going to be able to drink it all yourself, Patrick, or you might, but you probably want some people to drink it with. So for being such a good sport, we're going to host a private dinner party on the island for you. We're going to allow you to bring in 3 very special guests. Now, they can be from history or they can be contemporary, still living today. Who would they be, and why would you choose them as your dinner companions?
Okay, so to start off, I would say I'm a big tennis fan. So Rafael Nadal would be definitely my pick. I think his work ethic and I think what he's achieved is very, very influential for me. So definitely would love to hear the stories about when he went on tour, specifically on Roland Garros. So that would be my first guest. Second one, and I have a big love for food and a big passion for food, and you would need a chef, right? So Anthony Bourdain would be my second pick. I think he's a legend when it comes to the chef or the hospitality industry, and I have a lot to listen from him, although he's passed away. And the third, for entertainment purposes, would be Michael Jackson. And if Michael Jackson is not available, probably Roger Jackson would probably fill in. But no, I think Michael Jackson has disrupted the entertainment industry as we know it. And my favorite song, Billie Jean, would definitely be performing.
What a fantastic dinner party that would be, with the Ron Zacapa flowing, with great food, with a sporting legend and a singing and music legend, and you, and then Roger and I might sneak in as the waiters, actually, because I reckon that would be just great fun. All right, Patrick, you've been on the island for a while, so you deserve another treat. So we're going to fly you on our distinctly budget carrier, Tripod Airlines. We're going to fly you to anywhere in the world for a special break. Where would it be and why?
Okay, I would choose Tokyo. I would choose Tokyo as my destination, specifically for the food, because Tokyo has the most number of Michelin-starred restaurants in the world. I hope you have the budget for it, or is it a low budget? So definitely Tokyo, because it's a food haven and there's the most Michelin-star restaurants. So I'll be spending some time there to try them all.
Yeah, great choice. One of the best cities in the world on so many levels, isn't it? I have very bad memories of the last visit I went to Tokyo. Roger, you'll know this because I watched the All Blacks lose in the semi-final of the Rugby World Cup to England. It was a very bad and depressing day in my life, but otherwise I love everything about Tokyo. So great choice. I think a fantastic desert island experience, Patrick. One of our best that we've had yet. It's been really great fun to have you on the show. I hope you enjoyed the experience. Didn't find it too grueling. We wish you really well in what's going to be a long and successful career ahead of you. You've already come a long way with 3 great companies, as you well said. Been brilliant to have your company. I'm going to pass over to Roger to sign off, but thanks for being with us, Patrick.
Thanks a lot, Martin. Thank you.
Patrick, thank you for coming on the show. We really appreciate it. As Martin said, you're our first guest from the tobacco industry, and I hope we're going to have many more now. Obviously, tobacco is a huge part of travel retail. And thank you for coming on, sharing everything about your childhood, you growing up, and also your great career. Like you said, you worked for 3 very, very large companies, actually all in travel retail. So there's not many people that can say that. So thank you for sharing that with us.
Thanks a lot for having me, Roger. I really enjoyed it, and looking forward to see you guys very, very soon.
You will.
Yeah, hope to see you in the Middle East soon, Patrick, and perhaps we'll have a glass of great Lebanese red wine. You know, I know Chateau Moussal well, but of course there are many, many others, and you'll probably be an expert on them from what we have heard today. So we'll look forward to having a glass of great wine from your country soon. All right. Patrick Awad, thanks for being our guest on Tripod. Well, another interesting guest, Roger. Our first one, as we said, from the tobacco sector. Patrick's lived quite a life. You know, he's from a beautiful country, but a very pained country. It's had so much pain and violence in its history. It's gone through a lot of troubles lately, and you can feel his heart throbbing for his country. Very interesting and humane man, I thought. A good guest.
Yeah, Patrick's a great guy. As he mentioned, we've known each other for a long time. Actually, to work for 3 different companies across different categories, actually, in travel retail, isn't, you know, there's not many people that can say that, actually. And he's got a great understanding of our industry. And as you said, you know, the situation in Lebanon at the moment is just terrible. I've got a lot of friends and colleagues from Lebanon, and I just pray for them that they can get their country back up and running, and it can be somewhere where people can, you know, live and work again. Because at the moment, there's far too many people who want to be back in their home and they can't be. And for me, that's really sad.
Yeah, very well said. All right, Roger. Well, look, we'll close out. I notice you're wearing the tripod accessory that I introduced a few weeks ago. You look rather dashing in it, Roger, I've got to say, but I understand there might even be a line extension in the pipeline. Is that right?
It is. We've got some new merch, so I'm going to remove that one and put the new one on. There you go. So I've got a nice stash of these here. So Patrick's going to be the first owner of one of these. Is going to be one of these winging its way to him. So I don't think anyone's going to be able to miss us, Martin, in these.
I tell you what, next Cannes, Roger, we'll set up a studio down there and we'll be wearing those, and we'll have tripod banners with the permission of TFWA, and I think we could make quite an impact looking as sartorially splendid as you do today.
Yeah, well, I'm at Medford in 5 weeks, so I'll make sure John and Eric have got these on.
All right, we'll keep them to that, keep you to that, and keep them to that. Roger, it's been great to be with you as always. We've got another very special guest, very interesting guest from the world of wine coming up soon, but we won't give away the secret, so you'll have to tune in next time. Meantime, this is Martin Moodie saying thank you for being with us. See you next week.
See you next week.